right, we're live. All right, well, we're live here at the season debut opening week of the Not So Real Estate podcast.
Yeah.
Haha. Well, my name
clever.
is Blake Shawn, and I'm here with a couple of the main peeps of the Not So Real Estate podcast. Who do we got sitting at the table today?
This is Reece, Sapien, and
Luis Caballero, also known as Luis.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The main emphasis is Caballero. 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 Caballero.
what does that mean in Spanish?
I think it means gentleman.
Okay.
I thought it meant racing horse.
Sometimes I feel like that, though.
Oh.
Right on. Well, now that we got the intros out of the way, what should the viewer expect to get out of this podcast by choosing to listen to it or watch it or whatever they want to do with it?
It's a good question.
That's a great question. Yeah, I think one of the main purposes for this podcast is to just make it personal, to show that we're learning as we go. I think the term is flying the plane as we're learning how to fly.
I think it's building the plane
Oh, yeah. Building.
while it's in the air, baby.
I'm new to this. Yeah, building the plane while it's in the air.
But learning how to fly while you're in the air also works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Maybe learning to build the plane while you're flying it in the air. I don't know.
Yeah.
Caballero. And so the purpose of this podcast, or these videos, all the spliced info and segments you're going to see, normal dudes figuring out life. We have a lot to figure out, and we've been blessed enough to, I think, figure out or learn a lot in real estate, but also in entrepreneurship. I tell people real estate is just an entrepreneurial vessel. So, I don't know, normal dudes who use real estate as a vessel for massive impact and change in their neighborhoods and in their communities is what I think the Shawn team is. And I think in this podcast, we'll be talking about, yes, real estate, because I think anyone and everyone under the sun, regardless of what you do, real estate has a spot for you, owning, investing. But then we'll also be talking about other stuff, I think, the highs and lows, the wins and the losses, and I think entertainment, right? There's some entertainment value here.
A little.
Yeah.
One thing, Blake, that you said to me in an email, we're currently working on our sales processes, right, on retail and both retail and investing side. And when I sent you, one thing you responded to me that I think outlines us and who we are, and I think what this podcast is going to be about a lot, is as we're refining ourselves, our businesses, and sharing that. I think you said refinement is fun, is what you put, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe talk a bit about what refining it means to you, or Lewis as well.
I think all of us, and that refinement, when it's done properly, is never truly done, because our next level of refinement brings new experiences and other things that then need to be added, incorporated, edited, whatever you want to call it, and then refined even more. So I think committing to a refinement process in general, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter your age, no matter your profession, your industry, just committing to, I don't know everything. I'm passionately curious about X, Y, and Z, and I don't need to know all the answers to start asking all the right questions. So I think I want this to be a lot of asking questions and then us just chopping it up. Yeah. We're going to have the answers to some, and others we won't. But that's maybe okay. In episode 2, 3, and 4, we can go back and be like, oh yeah, I remember on episode 1, we were talking about refinement, and we talked about Like maybe we need to continue to do that as we have new experiences, and wouldn't you know it, a new experience happened, and here's what it is, how it challenged us.
Yeah.
So, Caballero, how do you feel about that?
I think that's spot on. I think that's what makes us a really cool group is the fact that we can be serious when we need to be, but at the end of the day, like Reece said, like you mentioned, we're just refining as we go, and we embrace the mistakes and the things that we do wrong because we get to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to do this podcast with you guys, and I think that's what makes us a cool group is we really don't have it all figured out, but we're not shy and scared to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're a pretty young group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the oldest one
The
here.
elder, yeah.
I'm the elder. Yeah, right on. Well, and I am 31. I could say that for a few more weeks.
Yeah.
Reece, you are
10 years younger than you.
yikes,
21.
21.
Yeah.
Caballero,
27.
27.
You guys are so
Dang.
wise.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, lots of refinement.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Reece, I know you had some other questions. What we talked a little bit about podcast now, what people should expect. Are we going to be open to people coming in and chopping it up with us?
Absolutely. I think so. I mean, as we kind of figure this out, because we're new to it, right?
True.
But as we grow and having some people on here, maybe, I don't know, people with bigger businesses than us, or not necessarily
Bigger
business,
pockets?
bigger pockets. Yeah, right. But it doesn't have to necessarily be business. It could be whoever. But
Agreed.
just whoever, I guess, is refining. Is that going to be a theme? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I did want to talk about, though, is Blake, who are you?
Oh, frick.
Who are you, Blake? In case someone is listening that doesn't know who you are or anything about you.
Yeah. In the middle of figuring that out still. But for the show's sake and everyone listening, Blake Shawn, team leader of the Shawn team. I've been doing real estate for 10 years, started in property management, and then went retail sales, and now team leader of an awesome team with, I think we have 34 agents. And we're filming this in a building called the Downtown Dream 2.0. It's the corner of Kern and K right here in downtown Tulare. Been part of a little bit of a downtown revival since 2020 when I moved back at the end of 2019 after living a couple years over in Paso Robles. Team leader for a different brokerage and company over there at the Central Coast. I think entrepreneur is one title. My favorite title is husband and dad. I have my beautiful wife, Mia. We've been married, it'll be 5 years on the, let's see, what's the date today?
Today's the 7th.
The 7th.
Yes.
So the 10th of April.
Nice.
Yeah, just a few more
Very
days.
cool.
And it'll be 5 years. So that's exciting. And I have a 2-year-old named Asher James and a 3-year-old named Micah Joy. And we'll also be talking about in our podcast with entrepreneurship what it looks like to have healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Balance. Which balance is kind of overrated, I'll be completely honest. I think there's an ebb and a flow. I think obsession is a good thing. So I think every entrepreneur, if you don't have borderline obsession, and this might be a hot take for some, but if you're not borderline obsessed with what you're doing, it's going to be very difficult for you to pursue your craft at a level that's going to make you great. And I say that because everyone that I've seen that I admire, even if it's not in every element, if I just focus on them being the leader in their craft or their industry, it took a certain amount of unrealistic obsession to dive deep into it, to figure out the intricacies, the And I say obsession in the sense that like, it doesn't matter if you win or you lose in it. It doesn't matter if, in this world, if you get the sale or you don't, like, you're in love with the process. You're in love with the practice of it. And I think when you fall in love with the process of anything, the outcome is like the smaller portion. And part of that I've naturally had, and other parts I have to train. I think some people are like, oh, you're so natural. No, I just keep throwing blows every single day. Eventually one of them's going to land. And then whenever you land one or two, then you're going to get blows thrown back at you. And so my story over the last 10 years has not been just this straight line, like going off into the sunset, or the graph just showing like increase year over year. No, I've been up, I've been down, I've won years and I've lost years. I'm coming off of a year that I've lost more than I've ever lost, if we just looked at it by the books. And I felt like I've said it a lot, but I felt like I got punched in the mouth and the gut at the same time. And I think entrepreneurship and just I don't know, life in general is going to do this to you, but how you respond to that.
Well, maybe we can talk about that. I was reading something about the difference between being all in and all consumed. And so it kind of relates to what you're saying, because if someone who's all in is, I mean, like it said, they're all in, they're dedicated, they're working hard every day. But all consumed is like the unhealthy part of that. All consumed would be working until 10 o'clock at night and getting up and going in at 8 a.m. All consumed would be not paying attention to any of your family or your relatives and just throwing everything into that. But all in would be someone who is dedicated, but they know how to not get consumed and taken over, I guess. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. I think for one, that's super interesting. Never heard of that, all in, all consumed. I think, and I'll speak for my personally, I can still ebb and flow out of all in versus all consumed. And I, looking at the past 10 years, I could look back and say, in certain time frames or years, all consumed, unhealthy obsession, in the sense that work or success or promotion, accolades, whatever word you want to put there, was the most important thing. And I think it's only through having a wife that cares to spend time with me, having kids that I want to be present for, has changed that. And so I go in and I've kind of been, the theme lately, what I've been saying is I will still outwork everyone with boundaries. And the highest gift that I can give myself and anyone and everyone in my circle is presence. And so I can be all in and still offer people my presence in the midst of a day, whether that's at work or at home or wherever. And certain weeks are harder, but that's my highest level of commitment right now, is presence. So yeah, I'm walking that out right now as we speak.
Cool. Okay. All right. And now, Lewis, who are you?
Yeah. Well, first, Blake, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, what?
Cool. My name's Lewis, again, also known as Luis. The reason I say that is because some people call me Luis and other people call me Lewis. Last name Caballero.
Yeah.
What's your middle name?
It's actually Marcial.
Oh, okay.
Also known as Marshall.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
Just all over the place.
Lots of names that could be.
I guess still figuring out who I am, really.
Yeah.
I
get that.
Well, I started real estate, became licensed in 2019. and it's been a huge learning process for me. 2019, 2020 market was really hot, so got to benefit from that. So I got to see the easier side of real estate at that time. I was with 2 brokerages, and then around 2022, I believe, is when I made the switch to the Shawn team, which super grateful for, and for you too, dude. I've learned so much here than I have in the past years. When I made the move, there's a lot of things that I was learning about myself. Well, actually, before I go into that, I am engaged. I have a fiance named Vanessa, who's a TC here at the Shawn team.
Oh, yeah.
We have 2 kids. Audrina, she's 11 years old, and our little boy, Luca, who is a year and a half and has been a little crazy lately. But yeah, again, small family. We're born and raised in the Central Valley. So yeah, and then what I was getting into was when I made the switch to the Shawn team, I learned so much about myself. I learned that before I could learn anything really about real estate, I needed to learn a lot about myself. And the truth is, I'm still learning about myself.
Yeah.
But I was doing that not knowing that I was doing that. And that was through your help, and through your help, Reece. Everyone on the team here is great if you're not getting the point. So yeah, man, I've like I said, licensed in 2019. I think last year was pretty rough. It wasn't the same, but it felt kind of similar things, just like you. But we're still here, still fighting, and it was just a testament that if we can go through that and still be content and happy, there's nothing that can stop us.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's so true. That's good, dude.
So who are you, Reece?
Oh yeah. You forgot to mention that you're head of acquisitions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Head of acquisitions. So I'm helping with the investment side of the Shawn team, which is freaking great.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We are creating some SOPs. So, and I know we'll get more into that, but even that, just refining that.
What are SOPs?
Standard operation procedures.
Man, that sounds exciting. Am I right? Viewers at home.
But yeah, just been dialing that in. Currently, we have 2 projects we're currently working on, 1 in escrow, 2 in escrow, and 1 that we might get into escrow next week. Right? No, 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we have 6
total.
But yeah, I don't know where they're all in the process.
Yeah, various stages.
What locations we got?
So we got 2 in Paso. We have 1 in Fresno that's should be listed by today, if not tomorrow. 1 that's a potential flip in Fresno, so the one that's 2 weeks out. There's 1 in escrow in Visalia, which is Sally.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have
another one, the Triplex Myrtle. That's
6. And then the other potential ones that we haven't really discussed or talked about, like Porterville.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's been a fun ride.
All over the place.
Yeah. Dang. Yeah, well, that makes me feel better actually saying it out loud, why everything feels so chaotic right now. Yikes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Reece.
Oh, yeah. Who am I? My name is Reece Michael Sapien.
So we're going middle names. Is that
sure.
Why you asked that and now you said it?
Well, I just asked him because I like his middle name. So I just it's
you.
I like how he
cool.
pronounces it.
That's what I like. Yeah, it's fun, and it's like the same as how you pronounce Caballero. Anyway, I'm 21 years old. Got into working at the Shawn team actually like 2 years ago. It's been 2 years since I came.
Yeah.
I joined it when I was 18, like 2 weeks away from turning 19.
Mm-hmm.
Got my license 6 months later, and then has been working as an agent, and then just started doing operations, chief of operations, as of a couple months ago.
Dang, dude, that sounds really important.
Yeah, it does. It's in my Instagram bio.
How old are you again?
Oh, dang.
Reece, how old are you again?
21.
Wow,
chief
dude.
of operations.
Yeah. It's a coup, you know? But yeah, I have a beautiful girlfriend. Her name is Alexis, and she lives in LA, Azusa Pacific University. She goes to school. And then I live with my brother, Still, I live at home. It's flex, rent free. It's wonderful.
Oh, frick, lucky.
Yeah. I live with my brother and intern, Carson. Yeah, that's who I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reece has changed a lot in the last couple of years, both appearance wise. We have some older pictures of Reece when he first got started, and he refers to himself as a little bit
I believe the term would be Reese's Puffs.
Oh, Reese's Puffs.
Yeah.
A little bit puffier,
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't know.
I think it was just some baby fat.
It was COVID, bro.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Well,
yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, whatever.
We all got some good photos. Maybe.
Sure we do.
Yeah, we'll have to incorporate those over time.
Hopefully not, but it's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, cool.
But can we go back to what we were talking about earlier? Because I wanted to ask Luis something. Is that okay? Can we do that? Is that good?
Yep.
So, back on the topic of all in versus all consumed, Luis, I really respect you for this because, like Blake was talking about, is outworking everyone with boundaries. And so, I really respect how you are able to, whenever something comes up, if Vanessa or Luca needs something, you're still able to go do that. But then when you're here, you make all of your hours count. Was that has that been a learning process for you of being able to balance family and work, or were you always good at it?
No, definitely really bad at it when I first started. So when I first got licensed, I feel like I was programmed to just, I need to be here a certain amount of hours to make this much money. Nothing else matters. And that's
part of the training that we got though when we first got into the business.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Because you guys started at the same place, right?
Yeah.
Technically?
Yeah. It was some place with
who cares where it was?
It was red.
Yeah, we don't want to know where it was. It's just, anyway, continue.
Forbidden place.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's something that I've had to learn a lot. And I mean, if you were to ask Vanessa, it was rough just because I just thought I had to be here a certain amount of hours. And then again, I keep referring back to, it wasn't until I joined the Shawn team, I realized that obsession is a healthy thing when you do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And not separating both.
What
I mean by that is this is my life. This is my lifestyle. So it was back then what I thought about is work and I have to be there a certain amount of time. I have to do this many tasks, and then I'd come home and I'd be exhausted. Whereas now that I see it more as a lifestyle, and again, a lot of it had to do with self-discovery.
Yep.
Everything matters.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've mentioned this, Blake. I think we can knock out 8 hours of work in 4 hours if we really just commit to it and are passionate and obsessed about it in a healthy way.
Yep.
So yeah, man, it's been huge learning curve. I'm still currently going through it, just not, it looks differently, like how it did in 2019, right. But yeah, working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis, I think you made mention about the self-discovery process, and did you say anything about I think you said lifestyle, and I think lifestyle in a way can be translated to purpose. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is everyone's like, oh, well, I don't know what my purpose is. And on a grand scale of life, we won't get into that right now, but through self-discovery, you find purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the biggest things as I continue to uncover myself, and not even uncover myself, but expose it to myself. I think a lot of us have an ideal self of who we think we need to be, who we think we need to be at work, who we think we need to be at home, who we think we need to be successful. Mm-hmm. And all of these things. And a lot of them are just preconditioned guidelines that at some point our brain, our humanity accepted as true. And so in the self-discovery process for me personally, I challenge everything now. When I say, oh, well, I love whatever. It's like, do you really love that though? Mm. Or do you think that you need to love that in order to be liked by those people? And so in real estate even, it's like, oh, well, I remember when I walked around at that other company that we won't talk about.
Yeah.
Everything is freaking numbers. Oh yeah, I sold X number of houses last year or made this amount of money. And it's like, how shallow.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even in my talk, I mean, up until a couple of years ago, every year was like, oh, I sold this many houses last year. And I know we'll talk about numbers in here a little bit. But man, in real estate especially, and I'm sure it's like this in almost every sales industry, our identity becomes wrapped up in our performance.
Yeah.
So much so that if we're not founded in who we are, and the purpose of what we do outside of a number or outside of an accolade or a whatever, I'm not surprised that real estate, I think, is in the top 5, might even be the top 2 or 3 for industries with the most depression among its people. And it's because we all feel like we have to carry around some facade of being the best or being happy or being rich or being successful or whatever. And to an extent, for one, the industry does teach you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It also teaches you knowing how to mirror and match will make you a better salesman and all of this stuff. But when you mirror and match too long, you actually don't know who your true self is anymore. At some point, you will be like, but what do I actually like doing? And so I've had to fall in love with real estate all over again, but not in the previous way that I thought I needed to. So a good example of this is if my goal was to sell 100 houses in a year, and that was my top goal and my only goal, and I sold 97 houses, which I have never done, by the way. I know some friends that do and have, and good on you. That's freaking awesome. But my success then becomes about the 3 I didn't hit instead of the 97 that I helped achieve something that I think is freaking awesome, and that's owning a home. And in the midst of that 97, I might have missed out because of my lack of presence of just wanting to get on to the next sale. That special moment when you handed them a keys to their house, or you helped them sell their house, or help them get moved, or whatever it is. And so there's all these little parts of real estate that become more lifestyle based. And when you treat it like that, that's why I love when you called it lifestyle. It doesn't mean that it goes into every facet. It just means you're just living in your purpose.
Yeah.
And mine just happens to be in the industry and lifestyle of doing real estate.
Yeah.
So yeah, self-discovery and purpose, I want to talk about a lot on this.
And do you think there's differences too, like self-discovering yourself by yourself and self-discovering with the help of the Lord? Because obviously we know, like from Scripture, He talks about how He is the one that, back to refinement, He's the one that refines us, right? So what do you think there's a difference in that? Because if you're self-discovering yourself on this path of, I have to sell 100 homes a year, or do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Like, do you think there's a difference there, or is it just like?
So it's a partnership. I think we're all given the ability, talent, skills, ambition, whatever you want to call it, to be whoever we choose to be for the most part. But there's some things that are just who we are. However, the who we are doesn't get discovered fully until you start to understand who made you. So I fully believe that part of self-discovery is discovering God. Discovering who breathed first. It wasn't you, and it wasn't even your mama. And so following that trail all the way back to God breathing life in man, if you can't acknowledge that you are made by Him and made in His image, it's going to be really hard for you to discover purpose in who you are or who you've been made to be. And so I think when I thought I was pretty solid in the Lord, to be honest. When I got into real estate, I just won't go into the full testimony segment at this point, maybe later though. But of some of the hard things that I went through in the past, and then being back, going to church and doing all that stuff. Then I got into real estate, and then it's like you almost become proud. And it's like, oh yeah, like I just went through the hardest time of my life. Everything's cool now. Like I made it. And then God's like, nah, you didn't. Actually, I'm going to take you through even harder trials. It's just going to look different. And so I think the discovery of life never fully going away, in the sense of like, oh, I made it here. I got out of this addiction, or I made it out of this trial, this circumstance, this situation. There's always something else. So if we leave the Lord out of the equation, or if we leave God, we leave our maker out of the equation in self-discovery, we're going to rely on things that other people or the world tells us, which we know is a very, very scary place to reside, and a very temporary place to reside.
And we can never be whole at that
Never.
point. Yeah.
Never be whole, because it's shifting all the time. Even our identity would have to change at that point to whatever the society says is good or normal or whatever at that time. So you got to make sure that, self-discovery is rooted in the Lord, I believe. That was the question, right?
That was the question.
Okay, cool.
Just to piggyback off of that, I think like you're 100% right. And last year being one of the toughest years, like you said, I felt the same thing. When I got my license, I was like, oh, dang, I made it. It's over. Right? It's over. But last year was probably one of the most difficult years for Vanessa and I. And those are blessings. And at that time, we don't see them as blessings.
Right.
But I truly feel, and I'm still going through this, I truly feel that I wouldn't have discovered my purpose or identify who I really am if it wasn't for that struggle.
You wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see it now. I'm still discovering who I am, still discovering my purpose, but at least I have the foundation of who I am and what I want.
Yep.
What I want for my family, for the team, for everything, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Pretty wild. What about you, Reece?
Yeah. Well, I had something I was going to say. Oh, we joke about it a lot, but really, I don't understand how people in real estate get along without the Lord. Like without having, like that's no like shame or anything. I just like from my perspective, me having the Lord, it's hard enough,
Yep.
So like having those, and you kind of hit it on the head right there. I think with what he says in James is without the trials, you can never be complete and whole. Like God lets us go through those trials so we can, and I just reading between the lines there, figure ourselves out and have God facilitate that to become whole. So I just don't, we joke about it a lot, but I don't understand,
Well, if I was to revert back to what I knew or saw in previous areas, it's a happy hour. That's how. Lots of happy hours at various times on every day.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, substance abuse is pretty common. Me having to go through my own stuff with it, like just it is a way to dissociate with some of the hard realities of looking at yourself, sitting with yourself.
It's uncomfortable.
It's super uncomfortable, man. I've had, I think it was yesterday that Shawn Fox, he was telling us that prayer is just actually sitting still and being quiet enough to not be thinking about anything else.
We should have him on here.
Yeah, I'm sure we will at some point. And that was really wild because I had such a hard time being with myself for so long. And that's why I think, in real estate, these are social people, and I joke about happy hour, but I know that a lot of people, including ourselves, even here, just hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a hard time sitting with ourselves, by ourselves, without something to numb or distract or help us dissociate from all of these questions that we're too scared to deal with. So yeah, it's a rough business, man, but truth be told, it's just a rough life.
It is.
In many areas, even outside of this, but yeah.
Well, I guess we talked so much about the not negatives, but just the hardships. But Blake, what is your favorite, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like thing about real estate, but just like what's your, why do you do it specifically, like real estate related?
Yeah. So if I was to give you the answer that led me to real estate, I'm going to be extremely honest and transparent here, and how the Lord's molded me. So for one, I'll disclose, like, God typically knows people's hearts truly.
Mm-hmm.
He knows where they're at in the present, but he also, thank God, can see who that person actually is on the other side of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured out that I was really good at selling things. And I was like, what is the most expensive legal thing I could sell? And so,
oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm going to be honest here. We'll get into some of my other past stuff, but I'm going to be honest. That was it.
Yeah.
It was like I could go to a car dealership and sell cars, but there's something more expensive than cars that I could sell that's legal, and that's houses.
Yep.
So that was what got me started in the beginning. That and knowing that I didn't necessarily, and see, here's the funny thing, and it's for all entrepreneurs, we say we sacrifice working 40 hours a week for choosing to work 80. But for ourselves.
Yeah.
So funny. Because we're never truly just working for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. We don't ever truly just make our schedules.
Yeah, no.
Not how it works. But we convince ourselves, I want the freedom. I want the flexibility. Funny. What an illusion.
When someone calls you and they want to see a house, you go show them that house.
You got to go do what you have to do.
Yeah, you do what you got to do.
Yeah. But so that was the beginning, but what it turned into was, honestly being more of a therapist. So you have to realize that, and not being a therapist just for the sake of being a therapist, being in relationship with people when they're going through tough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love to help people, period. Love to serve people. Even in the midst of me wanting to sell things that are just expensive and legal. Even when I didn't sell things that were legal or expensive, I still love helping people and what I thought was helping them or serving them in a way that I thought was serving them.
Yeah.
But see, that's what's funny. The Lord was able to look through all that and be like, oh, but like I could see the core there. You're just confused. You're just lost. You're just whatever. So serving people think that buying a house is not a traumatic experience or selling a house is a traumatic experience. Last list I saw, it was number 7 on the top 10 of most traumatic things is buying or selling a house, moving. Yeah. And then you understand like, yeah, it is. It was actually right below or right above, I can't remember, dealing with death.
Wow. That's interesting.
It is, right?
That's interesting.
But then us as realtors were like, oh man, this client,
it's nothing.
This client's a pain in my ass because, they're calling and texting me all the time. Well, take a step back.
Yeah.
That person's dealing with trauma right now.
Yeah.
And so even if they don't want to be acting like that or talking like that, you're just the first line of defense. You're the closest thing to them.
Yeah.
And I know all of us, when we're going through it, whoever's closest to us is who's going to get the wrath.
Yeah.
So when I understood that with people, for one, I gave grace. I was able to give grace because it's like, I'm helping them through a tough time, even though they act like, and they won't tell me that they're stressed out their gourd and they have super anxiety over this whole thing and they're just nervous. So I got really good at just listening. Mm-hmm. I stopped caring about the right answers. I stopped caring about making sure I made everyone happy or seem happy, and just being able to ask the right questions and to listen. That's what we all need so much more of. We don't need right answers.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't. So that's what it's become for me. And then it's even more so evolved now is, how do I help people in the real estate grow in this real estate industry the right way, where they're able to figure out who they are, self-discover themselves, and then through their self-discovery be able to help serve people better. Because if we don't have grace for ourselves, we can't give grace to others. Mm-hmm. And so self-discovery, you learn all about grace. Start to love yourself, get better at loving other people, get better at loving God, get to know who God is. You get to know what love is, true love. And so you start redefining words. We all have an idea of what love is. We all have an idea of what faith is, what hope is, but a lot of times we don't truly understand the definition of it until we have to walk through it.
Yeah.
Truly. Hope sounds great until you have to apply it. Faith sounds really, really, really fuzzy until it's all you have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the truth.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that you bring that statistic up about like the 7th most traumatic thing. Yeah. I told one of my more recent clients, like a year ago when we first talked about it, I told her it's going to be the most emotional thing that she's ever gone through. Yeah. And she didn't believe me. And so we got it, and she was like, Reece, you were right. I didn't believe you that this was so emotional, that this is going to be an emotional thing. We were like a week out from when she was buying her house, and she told me that it was like, I didn't believe you. So
yeah, and give people permission to be, letting them know it's okay to be stressed out.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. You set an expectation and then granting permission, like, hey, I know you're stressed,
mm-hmm.
and just sitting with them in that.
Yeah.
Like, that's so big.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I'm learning too, because I'm 21. I haven't bought in a house yet. I'm a realtor that doesn't own a house. Because I was
living out of my Nana and Papa's one of their bedrooms.
Yeah.
And doing school online. It was different. I barely bought a car when I first got started.
Yeah. But I've never gone through that. So I'm learning. You tease me about it. You do. How to, not give grace, but also just be patient, I think.
Like with yourself, like with the process?
Yes, that, but also with clients, like, or being better at, like you say, listening, but also being better at responding emotionally, not getting emotional and like worked up, but like responding in the right way that acknowledges what they're feeling. Because I don't know how that feels yet. One day I will, but you see, that makes sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, I can understand how stressful this must be.
Yeah. And my only experience is seeing people go through that.
Totally.
So.
All right. Well, we know that we have Mr. Koo, Chief of Operations over there. And we also have Chak, Chief of Acquisitions.
CAC.
Oh my God.
Reece is thinking about CAC.
Oh gosh. That was not intentional.
Sorry, Mom. Reese's mom.
Do we need to restart that? Or?
No.
Okay.
I think that was
Rick,
perfect.
no, that's actually going to be what we're going to lead with, or why people should listen to our podcast.
Although, can we go with Chak?
Yeah. All right. So, we're sitting here with Koo and Chak, Chief of Operations and Chief of Acquisitions. And what exactly is the difference in what you two do? And with the Shawn team, kind of like an overlaying umbrella, right? Yeah. So what is the difference between retail sales? What does that mean? Like retail real estate versus acquisitions?
Okay.
Help me understand that. I don't know. Okay. Help me.
So retail is the part of real estate that everyone kind of grasps, I think, for the most part. Retail would be, I think the easiest way to put it is on market versus off market. Now, what does on market mean, I guess, is the next thing, right? Is that kind of a good explanation, sort of?
Well, I mean,
not necessarily classify that.
I think it's a little bit complicated.
Okay.
Mom and dad wants to sell their house.
That's okay. So retail would be an agent comes to mom and dad that wants to sell their house. Hey, I'm an agent. Here's a listing agreement. We talk through the whole processes, and we can go into this at a further time, but just for sake of simplicity, they sign a listing agreement, and between them, another agent who would bring a buyer, and they do the transaction together in escrow with representation.
Publicly
marketed.
People are looking at the apps and seeing it.
Exactly.
There's a pretty for sale sign out in front of the house.
Yeah. Kind of like basically your simple real estate agent tasks, I guess.
So you're calling real estate agent simple?
No, that's not what I'm saying, but like not.
Is another word for simple basic? Are real estate agents basic, Reece? Is that what they are?
Outside of the Shawn team?
Oh! Ayo! Ha. No, I like it.
Is that a good explanation, you think?
No, I think it is. Like first time home buyers, helping someone buy a house.
Exactly.
Helping someone sell their house.
Sell
their house and move up. They have a 3-bed, 2-bath. They want a 4-bedroom.
Sure.
With a pool. And instead of building one in their 3-bedroom house, they're going to go sell their house and buy a bigger house, fit their needs. I think that's retail real estate. And then retail real estate would still even fall into someone wants to buy a rental.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it just gets more in depth with kind of who the investor is or what their goals are.
Well, there's some paperwork differences as well, which we don't have to go into detail right now, but between realtors as like a California Association of Realtors, there's different rules that you have to follow between retail and acquisitions. Right? Am I safe in saying that? Oops. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, in a way, I think realtors all have to abide by the same things no matter what you do. Yeah. But in general, like a retail deal, we're using...
It's executed differently.
The contract is right there in our database of contracts, and in the state of California, the buyers have all the rights. Buyers and tenants have all the rights, and sellers and landlords are more so at the discretion of the other. So I think that's a good example of retail.
Sorry, Lori, for saying that. Lori's our
Lori is our awesome compliance / broker /
she's been in the game for longer than I was alive.
By twice of Reece's life.
I wasn't going to throw that in, but
No, that's not a knock. Yeah. That's a salute.
Yeah.
Salute to you, girl.
True. She's the
made
best.
You made it.
But
okay, well I think that's good.
Kind of sums it up a little bit. And
I would say that for me personally, I knew how to do acquisition stuff, investing, because numbers fascinate me.
Yeah.
So it's always been an interest of mine. So I've loved working with retail investors, all of them. And I mostly did that mostly for my first 8 years up until the last 2. And I really got into the acquisition side.
Yeah.
And so, Lewis, tell me a little bit about what acquisitions means to you. And maybe just real estate investing overall.
Yeah. So acquisitions is a little different than just retail real estate. I found that we deal with a lot more people who are really emotional, people who have inherited properties that they don't want, people in binds that need to sell their house within like 3 to 14, 21 days, whatever it is, less than 30 days. So our job with acquisitions is, one, to market to those people, because sometimes those people don't know that we exist and that we're here as a solution. So yeah, our biggest thing is to bring solution to the people that are going through whatever they're going through, whether it's an inherited property, divorce, it's a distressed property. I mean, they got to get rid of it. Whatever the story is, we're here for a solution. The cool thing about acquisitions is when our team picks up a property, it goes from acquisitions to retail. Yeah. So there is that cool little correlation, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've called them neighborhood improvement projects.
Yeah.
Or NIPS. What were you saying, Chak?
Well, as far as what it means to me, I mean, I have learned, I've grown a passion for it. So I started off with retail, selling homes, and I think we talked earlier in the podcast about just how it's programmed to talk about numbers. Oh, I sold this many homes, and so on and so forth.
It's true.
And like we were programmed to say that. And I know in the beginning of the podcast we talked about how many flips and stuff we had, projects going on. Yeah. But when I say that, it's different than a number, because I'm extremely passionate about helping and serving people. So as far as what it means to me, it's a huge fulfillment to know that we can be a solution to someone, but also it can benefit our team as well. So win-win situations is an awesome feeling.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think the flip from distressed to like something that then becomes a highlight in a neighborhood is a really cool thing.
The neighbors appreciate it.
Neighbors absolutely appreciate it. It increases home values in general. So yeah, I'll be kind of transparent with this. I didn't care for, and I still don't care for the term flippers or flips all that much. And I think it's become a derogatory, like there's a negative connotation attached to it because of horror stories or bad things. And honestly, some of it's true.
Absolutely.
People have been taken advantage of. And it's been snakes, crawling, slithering through the grass and take advantage of people in distress situations. And truth be told, it's only because of that I think we're even so much more passionate about what we do. Yeah. I say it a lot and sounds kind of bold, but I think we're here to eradicate the snakes.
Yep.
Well, and there's a lot of people that don't give them options.
Oh, that's so true. Like, talk about that. What are options in this case?
So when we, number one, we bring truth. Well, I'll talk about that actually in a second. But people will come to a client or a potential seller and say, okay, I can give you this much for your home. And then they pressure them into that. But
pressure them into signing that freaking day, that hour.
Literally. And so the way we like to do it, and this is not, to clarify, this is not us talking bad about anybody. We're just kind of...
I don't even think we need to clarify that.
Yeah, well, okay,
I think
whatever.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, anyway.
We'll do it differently.
Yeah, we're definitely talking bad. No, I'm just kidding. But we like to give them options, right? If someone's interested in a cash offer, but you're like, well, if you don't need time, you can put it on the market and you can make so much more money. Like, that's the service that when we say full service real estate, that is... Sorry. I just get excited. I just get excited about this stuff.
He likes the way it feels on his lip.
Yeah. What was I saying? We like to give them options. So if they're interested in a cash offer, but they don't need it fast, or they don't, we give them that option. Say, hey, you can list this and you can make way much more money, and then that's better for the client.
I've actually pushed people on that.
Yeah.
And for whatever need of theirs, they still need to get it gone quicker. or it's taken up so much capacity in their brain. And this is where it's hard. We can't tell someone what value means to them, because what it means to us and what it means to them, when we start taking in time, energy, brain capacity, stress, sleepless nights, whatever you name, a cash offer in that situation for that person might be better than going and making an extra $15,000 or $20,000 because they just need this done and out of their brain. It's consuming their life.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of them that we picked up recently.
Can we actually, I'd like to touch on this story. Williams, we talk about full service, we can dive in deeper. Even before, like, I don't know, can you tell that story a little bit, how that worked out?
Yeah. So, so that was a property over in Hanford, and got a great price for it. And it was not funny, but I felt like it was a inherited property where there was like 6 or 7 brothers and sisters, something crazy. And the person had talked to us, called us, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have a great offer at $76,000 is what they offered." And they were going to accept it. And I was like, for one, you could do whatever you'd like. I want to disclose that before I say another word. I said, but we're doing a project around the corner. This is what I think we could do with it. And this is what I think would be fair. And so we figured out, based on what they're needing, or the family members are needed, they were wanting to move from this particular family, even though the house was in Hanford, they're wanting to move from Paso Robles to Texas. They needed X amount of money. And I said, well, when you split that up, the 76,000 or whatever, you're still a few grand short when you divvy it up. So anyway, we worked out an offer of a little over 100,000 because it hit what they needed. We were still able to hit our numbers, and it was a win-win-win across the board. Closed it up quick, done. And that was a situation where they just didn't know what they didn't know. So it's stuff like that for one, I feel extremely honored when we get to have those convos. I feel like we're meant to have them. And that's just one example. That particular house was wrecked, had squatters in it. There was no way that we could retail it. But we gave them the next best thing, which ended up with more money in their pocket, and got them moved to Texas.
Yeah.
So
well, that speaks to your character too, Blake, and kind of what we try to establish here at the Shawn team, because you could have easily said, "Hey, I'll give you 80 for it."
Oh, I could have said, "I'll give you $76,500 right there," and gotten them to accept it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I think we all like to sleep at night.
Yep.
And I think that's the big thing that retail sales, acquisitions, whatever, like I want all of us to be able to go to bed at night feeling good about what we do and how we do it. And that's where, when I say eradicate the snakes, like we're always going to be existing among them. But man, when you get a chance to stomp one, like do it by just doing things the right way. You don't need to say anything to the snake to let him know that there is a new sheriff in town that has some pretty sick looking boots.
Yeah, I think there's that phrase from Toy Story. He says, "Somebody poisoned the water hole."
Yeah, and then he said, "There's a snake in my boot."
That's exactly what he says. I wanted to just highlight that so you would say it. But.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, I appreciate that. I was actually Woody for Halloween this last year.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, so was I.
Yeah, that's right. We were both Woody.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, well, when you have kids, Reece, you'll understand.
And we're bacon for the 5th year in a row. So what can I say?
I had bacon and eggs costume before.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, retail acquisitions. I think we talked a little bit about the marriage of it, but the cool thing is for the agents or the team is the neighborhood's improved, which goes into community and what we're all about. Our agents have listings that they could market to other people. Our buyers have access to these homes that they get early access in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to not that we're out marketing them, but they're going to get first dibs when it's listed within the hour.
Yeah.
No.
Or they're going to know coming soon, 24 hours before it's officially listed, there's a hot vacant property that was just updated and turnkey ready for you. So yeah, one of the perks of working with us both as an agent and as a client.
Yep. Also specifically going into the Paso property that we're currently working on, depending on the town or city, there's not much for sale in that area, and it's cool to even just hear from, friends, family, agents, just like, hey, like people are really interested in this house. You might get an offer before it's listed. So
you might get a couple of them. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing I'm learning in that, because everyone's like, oh, we got an inventory crisis. Yeah, we do. But an even more bigger crisis that we have is we have a quality inventory crisis. So in retail real estate, people don't want a house that's beat up, junky, and needs updating and still paying top dollar for.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone had to go through during COVID. And they would still sell.
Turn and burn.
So now, like, there is a heavy lack of quality turnkey inventory. And so, and I think because we just freaking love it, I view this whole thing as an art, by the way.
Yeah.
Business in and of itself is an art when it's done right. A machine is one word, but I prefer art because it's a dance.
Yeah.
Like it's a dance between it all. But we'll have even like our styler that helps us with all our paint colors and our surface area types and textures, and because we're getting real deep now on our projects. Like we take pride in the quality of what we're bringing, and you guys will be able to see if you're following us on social media pages what Paso is going to look like, and just some examples of what we're talking about. And you'll probably see me and Michael Massey, which we'll have him in on a show.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Agent over in Paso. We're going to do a cool, funny video, I think, for that. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Be good.
Well, I think this was a great first episode.
Agreed.
And we'll only keep getting better and add more cameras and artwork and stuffs, things. But appreciate you joining in or tuning in to the Not So Real Estate Podcast. My name is Blake.
My name is Lewis.
I'm Reece.
And we will catch you next time.